Hey sports fan, today I wanted to talk about a fantasy standalone that I recently read and it blew me away. I loved it so much and I don't see people talking about it, and that is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. Kaikeyi is a retelling of a traditional Hindu epic called Ramayana, but this does not follow Rama, it follows Kaikeyi. And it is beautiful. I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave this book an overall 5-star rating. I gave it a 5 on like vibes and storytelling and a 4 on technical ability. I would definitely recommend it and I would reread it. So picking up this book, I read it with absolutely no knowledge of the existing epic story of Ramayana. I read it not knowing anything, and I feel so silly for being so ignorant to such interesting stories. I've got the Wikipedia page open because I'm not very smart, as many of you know. I want to talk a little bit about the myth, and then I can talk a little bit about this retelling. Kaikeyi is Rama's stepmother. She is a princess of Kikaya. Kikaya. I'm so sorry. I know that Hindu is kind of intuitive because things are kind of pronounced exactly how they're spelt, but I, with my silly English mouth, have a hard time with some of the words. So please, please, please bear with me, but also don't be afraid to correct me. So Kaikeyi is a princess. She's married to the king of, I believe, the capital of the country that she lives in. And she is his third wife, but his favorite wife. And she is an advisor to him. She goes into battle with him. She is an important character in this epic because she is a mother to one of the king's sons and stepmother to his other sons. She does a lot of pretty cool stuff. Being a young woman who rises to a position of importance and power just through her own intelligence, her prowess, her likability, and her integrity of character. In the original story, she is manipulated by her maid. What happens is that the king is going to name one of his sons as his successor, and it's not Kaikeyi's son. The maid convinces her that she will lose her position of power if her son it doesn't sit on the throne. She kind of gets overtaken by suspicion and jealousy, and she cashes in 2 boons from the king to first place her own son on the throne, and second to exile Rama for 14 years. The king does this, and then he is grief-stricken and he dies shortly after. In the traditional story, Kaikeyi's son Bharata refuses to take the throne because it is not his to take, and I believe it sits empty for 14 years until the prodigal son Rama returns and takes the throne. By this point, Kaikeyi has seen the error of her ways and her wrongdoing. Rama comes back and forgives her. He tells Bharata that he should also forgive his mother. He says, let me find it. Rama argued that this is what mothers do, whether good or bad. What mothers do is for the betterment of their children, not for themselves, so it is not proper to be angry with them. That is my very, very short, condensed version of her role in that epic. Now, what happens in the book, Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel, is we get Kaikeyi's entire story. We get her perspective. We get her whole life, her upbringing, her 7 brothers. It is such a beautiful story. I think that if you enjoy The Book of Gothel by Mary McMine, Circe by Madeline Miller, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek, even Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier, then you will definitely enjoy this book. Kaikeyi tells her entire story from her birth, her kind of not absent, her emotionally unavailable father, her role as a woman in these kingdoms who is not afforded a lot of power or really much of a role in anything outside of childbearing and housekeeping. It covers her childhood. We see how she is kind of forced into situations that she doesn't really want, but she has to take part in because she is a princess and a woman. The book spends a lot of time really showing us how women were treated at this time in India, how they didn't really have rights or roles, they didn't have their own protections. Kaikeyi is sort of a pioneer and she's sort of a champion of the common people, especially common women. Her maid in this book is not like a hunched over fear mongering person. In this book, her maid is exactly what it sounds like. She is a maid that has been with Kaikeyi for her entire life and will support her in anything she does. She is a true maternal figure and really the only maternal figure that Kaikeyi has. This book also introduces a magical fantasy element where Kaikeyi does have a magical ability. I I think that it worked as a really good plot device, but it felt like it was underutilized. I would have liked to see her use her ability more to make some changes when situations arose that really harmed her and harmed other people. Kaikeyi is so cool. She's such a badass. She is very clever and she's very selfless. It feels like a lot of what she does is actually for the people around her and not necessarily for herself. We do see moments of selfishness and kind of the short sightedness of youth, but she tries to reconcile those mistakes. She tries to right her wrongs. She does, for the most part, try to do the right thing. I thought that this was beautifully written. I thought it was such an interesting story. I've never read any books that are based in Hindu folklore, and that is my own failing. I didn't realize how interesting and how just diverse and rich and amazing this world is within Hindu folklore. It's something that I've not really been exposed to. I've read quite a bit of like Celtic folklore and British. I've obviously read a lot of myth that's pertinent to where I'm from and my own personal cultural background. This was like a very new experience for me and it was just delightful. I really can't say enough how much I really enjoyed this book. The story is truly Kaikeyi's story. We see her through her entire life. And that is definitely the kind of book that I enjoy. I know that I've probably said this about 700 times on this channel, and I'll probably never stop saying it. I love a character study. Oh, my baby's awake. I love a character driven story. I love a book where the main character is central to the plot, where they push the plot forward, where we get to go on a journey with them, where we see them grow, we see them change, we see their worldview and we understand them. They don't even have to be likable. I just love a character that really drives the story. That is definitely what Kaikeyi is. She's such a delightful character. It's such a delightful book. I enjoyed every minute of it. There were some aspects that at the time of reading, I was saying to myself, why is it happening this way? In retrospect, I think I understand a little bit more, but at the time, I was a little bit frustrated with the world that she lives in. That's not a failing of the writing or the story, it's just a reality of the world. There's also an aspect of, I don't think that this is spoiling anything. Kaikeyi is entirely aromantic and asexual. It was kind of refreshing to read a character who had absolutely zero interest in romance or in sex. She just wasn't interested. She didn't care about those things. They weren't important to her. I find that even in books where it feels like there's not really room for romance, it kind of gets shoehorned in to, I guess, make the story more appealing or so you can feel like you identify more with the characters. I'm not really sure. I find that there are a lot of books where romance is inserted where it feels like it doesn't really need to be. In this one, there's just really no romance. Kaikei is married and she does love her husband, but she loves him as a companion and a friend and somebody that she truly respects and cares about, but it's not a romantic love at all, which, like I said, I just really, really appreciate. I feel like there aren't a whole lot of characters like that that I've read. Maybe if you have some that you'd like to suggest, you can drop it down in the comments. I would appreciate that. My toddler's waking up from her nap, so I will try to wrap this up very quickly. Kaikei was a 5-star read for me. It is just such an amazing fantasy standalone. I don't really see anybody talk about it, so I felt like maybe I could reach, 100 people and tell you guys to check it out. It has a powerhouse of a main character. She really drives the story. She's so interesting. It has just a vast world of culture and myth that was delightful to read. It was so interesting. It was so engaging and entertaining. Outside of the main character, the supporting cast of characters are also incredibly unique and individual. They're so interesting to read. Like I said, I enjoyed every moment of this book and I would highly, highly recommend it. I implore you to go find it, check it out, give it a chance. If you've read Kaikei and you want something similar to it, I would say you could check out things like The Witch's Heart, The Book of Gothel, Circe, and even Daughter of the Forest. Thanks for hanging out.